Pros, this is Mike with another Dirty Promotions video. I'm very happy to go ahead and talk to you about my branded dash protector cover right here. Microfiber is a little bit different, and I think I've talked about it before. Maybe I haven't talked about it enough times. Taking this opportunity to go ahead and explain a little bit more about it. Branded this time because before I developed this design, as you can see, this is just half of it, right? This is a half. It's folded because if I open it, it's very, very large. And you can kind of get the idea. I just folded it in half so it can be a little bit smaller so my presentation can be a little bit easier, right? So you can see pretty much the center and it curves down like you're pretty nice. Modeled after a GMC 2020 pickup as far as the dash goes. So it is built for the largest vehicles like pickups and such, and of course sedans and other ones will be pretty much more than enough, obviously. Okay, let's go on back here. Now, this one's I actually branded. Once I knew for a fact that there's gonna be no drawbacks and stuff like that and any other things and modifications I might want to do to this cover, I thought to myself, well, let me go ahead now and brand them so that people can actually have something that is not only attractive, but is also branded from Dirty Tools that they've been asking me to do. And I said, well, if I brand them, maybe it'll bump up the costing a little bit, but I was able to do enough units. As you can see, all these are the very first shipment of the units that I got, and I got into a very good price point to where I ordered enough to where it's really, the costing is negligible. So anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the things that I want to discuss about this type of product. One of the challenges that people, when they use this, is that when people are using typical beach rectangular towels or any other type of microfiber devices similar to this, is that they're rectangular, so trying to fit them in there's always a lot of excess material on the sides because it's rectangular and it doesn't really kind of like do the thing that they needed to do. So this one, some time back, I created several molds and models to where it would fit most of the vehicles, perhaps more than 95% of the vehicles out there. So I came up with this design to where it's curved very, very nicely. Okay, so this one does away with all the rectangular, semi-lazy type of things that people just grab from one counter of whatever beach towel and then just put it in another bag and says this is your dash cover protector or whatever it is. Well, it can be used, any device can be used like that, but I did come up with this special cut design. Superb, right? Branded now. And let me go ahead and talk a little bit about this type of a microfiber material. I always wanted and requested that this has to be very low plush, because one of the things and reasons that it took me a while to even want to develop something for this is that I didn't want it to be of this typical ugly ass microfiber that people talk about. Costco, like 60 of these for like 13 bucks. You can have them all day long. They're very fluffy. They do release a lot of material. My guys use them to wipe windows on the outside after the install, and that's the reason I have this, so I can show you the material that my stuff is not made up of. It is not made of this type of microfiber. I don't like it. I fucking hate it. I always preach about not using those. As a matter of fact, for touching glass, I do have some other glass rags, neither here nor there. So this very low plush, almost nothing of contaminant here. When you place it on the windshield, it's supposed to absorb a lot of the water in here. And just keep in mind that any of these devices that don't have any plastic or something on the bottom, you do have a little bit of while to lay some of the water. When you lay your film, you clean it up first and then you do your lay, and then after you do that, go ahead and remove it, because the longer something stays like this and it gets moist a little bit in the area, remember we're having a lot of these problems with the swelling of dashes, because water that will sit in there for longer periods of time will find a way into the either stitching or seams and stuff like that, or behind a dash where there's actually a cut, an end cut, and probably through there it might seep it. The good thing is that the water is going to sit in here. Whatever you throw in here, it won't have a time to be seeping into cracks or seams. It'll be sitting atop vinyl or whatever it is, plastic or whatever. So It is safe that way for as long as you keep in mind, use it and remove it, and that's it. And then you can pretty much air dry it somewhere, and it'll be dry after a while. You know, it is not waterproof material. It is, you know, something made to absorb some of the water that's coming into the dash as we're working on it. Okay. One of the reasons a long time ago that I decided not to embed one of these into the thing, people were like, man, sew it and patent it and do this and do all these kind of things. I always thought about the same thing, that the reason I didn't want to do it. And coincidentally, some other nice benefit arose that I haven't discussed with you guys in the internet, but I'm going to discuss it now. Okay. This right here, when we put it on here, what I do is to install this first, install this right here on the dash, put it in a little bit, and then put this guy behind it, or, you know, here atop it, and then push it in, and it'll lock this into place very ever so nice, that any pull or this or that, it's locked into place by this device. That's one of the things that is very nice about it. But the reason I really would prefer this to be separate in every which way, shape, or form is because this guy right here is going to take most of the water brunt absorption here and will remain here. Very few or a lot less is going to go seep here. So what I'm saying is that if I would have sewn this there, and you do a windshield or whatever and stuff, and a lot of water lands here, you already know that one of the things we do after we do our installation is go somewhere in the sink or this or that and wring it and dry it, put it to air dry, and then she's ready for battle. Or perhaps after 10-15 minutes, it won't be completely dry, but not all soaking wet. If I would have pasted this in here, then I have to get all this stuff, and maybe it's a little bit harder manipulation to try and wring this whole device drier. So for me, it was always better to keep this component separate, because pull it out, dry it, wring it, or get another one, which are these are a lot more affordable, and then use the same device, because most of the brunt of the bullshit water that's falling down is really being captured here. So you take this out, wring it, dry it, maybe have another one separate, use that one for 1 or 2 windshields, then get the other one that's been drying, and you rotate them, and you have a nice fresh piece of equipment, rather than to have this stapled on there. And then this gets wet, and I don't really, if it gets too wet, then I have to like totally discard this or put it away for a while, meaning I probably have to have 2 or 3 of these units, which will become a larger, more added expense, and that's not what I intended to do. So separation of the pieces to me was key, you know, so that you can have a much better install experience. Okay, so that's the reason I never intended to sew it, even though like, yeah, wrap it and do this and blah, blah, blah. Okay, I didn't do it. Separate pieces to me at that time, and even right now, is king. Okay, the other thing that I did notice a lot of people posting on the forums, many, okay, is that when you put this, they say, hey, Dirty, you know, there's too many dashes that are so low profile, I can't fit a damn rope into it. So what do I do now? How do I cover, blah, blah, blah. Okay, the great thing there that will overcome that problem for sure is that this guy right here, keep in mind, this guy right here, let me put this over here real quick, is very thin. So what I do on a lot of those problem scenarios, I go ahead and tuck this behind that very thin area that we're talking about. I tuck it and keep tucking it and keep tucking it to where it pretty much rolls into what you now know it probably resembles a rope. You can see it right there. So I keep tucking there under until it gets nice, tight, water seal tight. Then all this edge actually becomes a rope, but it doesn't have to be this size. It could be about half the size. It'll do the job. Be conscious that you did stuff less material perhaps than this and this together. So, but it's still going to cover. That's the whole point. That now you can have this thin device, tuck it and tuck it a little bit more and tuck it a little bit more until it becomes nice and tight all the way around and very snug, and therefore eliminating the use for an actual rope altogether. As a matter of fact, sometimes, with the exception of the Ford has a very big gap at the back, a lot of the cars that have smaller seals, I'm finding myself just tucking this myself all the way until it's nice and hard and compact, and I know that it's fully sealed like this. Once I tuck it and tuck it and tuck it and tuck it, it becomes similar to this, which is very nice, tugged and fat, and like a rope. And this is nice absorbing microfiber material, and that suffices and does and covers the concerns of people that say, dirty, it doesn't fit in the back, what do I do, help me, and stuff like that. Even though they don't buy my materials, that's pretty much irrelevant. If they have somebody else's stuff and this and that, I tell them how to overcome. But the good thing is that my branded materials already come, and you can overcome those obstacles because it actually has its thinner material that you can tuck back in there. So with or without a rope, that's a deal. And I really wanted to show off this nice curve, and I think I did in the beginning. Okay, so this guy right here, the reason I brought him out is because when you guys will like to tuck the rope or tuck this is what I mean. You tuck it, tuck until it gets nice and fat and whatever, and then you know for a fact that it's nice and done. And then if you have also additionally those very hard to get windshields that, you know, maybe the side swipe or whatever maybe get stuck, and when you try and take them out, it brings the film and all that kind of stuff. Well, this guy right here, that's the reason it was invented, for those very hard to reach thin places. We have used this on Range Rovers, which have a very high kind of like dome in the back and nothing, because the stuff is like gets back there on the Range Rover thing. So that's the reason I invented this little gadget for back windows. And for actually some of these, you go into whatever little corner and do your thing. It will go behind that little crevice and whatever, and you're done. And because it is taped up real nicely, you don't have to worry about scratching the hell out of it with any other type of plastic uncovered devices, right? Go swipe, use them. This you can use as a tuck tool, and also this right here, you can either use it or not on the bottom. So that's my explanation and the reason, my reasoning and all that kind of good stuff behind my branded, my design. This is my original idea design. Nobody's idea, no rectangular, it is a curve. I don't want to include weights or Velcro or stickies or this. I didn't want to include nothing. Some stuff, it might not, you know, it might sound like it's great on paper and it will do this or that, but once you get it rolling, then you start looking at the problems that are, maybe it didn't come out so good. So I did a very big run of this ones without my brand, because I wanted to make sure it was gonna hit the spot very well, and everything I was talking about and kind of I thought that it was gonna happen, what actually did happen. So there it is, separate tools here, nice contour cover, dash cover by Dirty Tools, now branded. My distributors in Australia and other distributors here in the US and stuff like that, there's plenty of stuff to go around, so just go ahead and hit me up and I'll go ahead and send whatever materials you need out there. And my loyal customers, dirty followers and all that, I really want to appreciate you for hanging in, waiting for the good tools to come in. They have. That's it. Guys from Europe, Canada, Australia, South America, Mexico, USA, Germany, and all those other places that I haven't mentioned. Los quiero mucho, un abrazo, and thanks a lot for your support. GoPro, stop recording.